In today's episode of the hashtag Ask the Anxiety Guy show, I'm talking about reassurance seeking, adrenaline, and the anxiety hangover. Warriors, welcome. Your questions matter. You're listening to the Ask the Anxiety Guy show.
This podcast episode is brought to you by the End the Anxiety program, a downloadable CBT-based program created by the anxiety guy himself to help heal your emotional distress and put anxiety behind you once and for all. Visit www.anxietyexit.com to learn more today.
Warrior, welcome to episode number 140 of the Anxiety Guy podcast. This is the hashtag Ask the Anxiety Guy show, where you ask the questions, I answer those questions in as great detail and value as I possibly can for each and every warrior out there now. Today, I've got some very important questions to answer, and I usually pick these questions based on how many of them I get. So if I get one repeatedly, I will make sure to answer it on the show. And a couple shout outs before we get into this podcast episode. Shout out to Matt Warren on Twitter. Thanks for your engagement, Matt. Shout out to Caroline Kyle, a true inspiration on Facebook. Awesome stuff. My friends, I want to start the show off by letting you know of the best combo that I've found tea-wise that's really working for me lately. It's working for me to really release any lingering inflammation in my body, as well as get me to sleep on time. It's incredible. In fact, the combination of turmeric, ginger, peppermint leaves, and basil, my friends, try that combo out. It's absolutely fantastic. It smells great. It tastes great. You're going to love it. I did share this on the Facebook Live, and just a recap for all you warriors on Facebook there. So, my friends, let's get into question number one. First question comes from the Facebook tribe from Tine Valsedera. Tine asks, Dennis, I hope you're able to pick my question. I have. I'm aware of the stressors in my life, which in my case I cannot avoid as they are my loved ones. How can I not react negatively, which causes me so much stress, crawling from my shoulders to my head until I get panic and I feel fainty whenever they say something annoying? Now, isn't this so common with so many people that the kids or the husband or the wife or the brother or the sister, whatever it is, takes us to a whole nother emotional plane? And many times it's not a positive one, it's a negative one, and we feel it within our feelings and emotions. Here's my answer to this, and it's threefold. First thing is, let's understand the internal car alarm. Tina, the internal car alarm that's going off, that could be a sign of past emotionally traumatic experiences that need emotional reframing. On episode number 139, the last podcast episode, I talked about emotional reframing, and I believe I did go through a 6-step process, a very basic process to get you familiarized with what emotional reframing is. So go back to that podcast episode, listen to it, jot down the steps, and begin practicing this. This is about where this sensitivity may have come from. And let's think about which person you may be responding like, and begin utilizing your visualization and emotions to reframe those past experiences, as well as reframe the way you view those people in your life that are showing up in your thinking patterns, in the inner critic that you hear in your mind. If you look up emotional reframing, just to let you know again, if you look it up, you'll find more information on it. And my program also has audios to help with this subconscious reconditioning. The second thing is, upon waking up each morning, here's what I want you to do. I want you to create an intention for the day. This is going to help when you come into contact with those people that are causing you distress. Create an intention for the day. For example, my intention for the day is to catch myself in the moment where I begin thinking through my anxious emotional state. When this happens, I will leave the environment for a few moments, remind myself to breathe, and take a new perspective over what's going on. This perspective means to see what's going on for what it is, not worse than what it is. This is essential, to see what's going on for what it is, not to add to it. To recognize catastrophic perceptions when they arise, and to bring yourself back down to the moment. Remember this, Tine and every other warrior out there. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you're not planning the day out, your reactions, if you're not planning these things out in the morning, and if you don't bring your tools with you as you go through the day, in the moments of those catastrophic perceptions, or the anxious feelings, or your energy body speaking to you, in those moments, you must have tools to counter those things, to prove to the subconscious mind that you are safe. The third thing is this. Please change your internal language. It's not about not reacting in a certain way. It's about replacing it with something that fits the new you. Let's get out of the thinking style connected to not doing something, because the brain doesn't process negations very well at all. Instead, focus on the change that needs to happen. Speak in terms of, I will be doing this, and here's why, rather than trying to stop something. This is crucial because there's so many people out in the world constantly telling me, I don't want this. This is not for me. Your brain doesn't understand won't, don't, not, and shouldn't. So if you don't want something, guess what's happening? You're getting more of that. So Tine, I hope I've answered that in a bit of detail there. I know those suggestions are going to help you. Question number 2 comes from Michelle Cates. Thanks, Michelle, for sending this email. This is a good question. This is a personal question. And she asks, Dennis, what is the greatest threat facing humanity today? This is deep. Nice, Michelle. Let's go into it. I've actually got 3. I've got 3 on my mind right now. First one is subliminal messaging. I believe subliminal messaging will take over human beings' brains, implant things into their subconscious that they're unaware of, and they will begin acting and feeling things out of their conscious control. This is already happening. So one of the things I believe is the greatest threat facing humanity today is subliminal messaging, because it takes power completely away from us. Second thing is artificial intelligence. I'm scared. And the third thing is our inability to tame the reptile brain, meaning our survival brain. When the reptile begins to speak, many times in school, in college, our authority figures, they haven't given us the tools or the understanding as to how to react to the reptile. When the reptile wants something, when our survival is at play here, we don't know how to respond. We don't have enough tools. We don't have the understanding. When the emotions start to kick in, many times we begin thinking based on how we feel. This is not the way to improve ourselves. We must begin to use our human brain, meaning our neocortex. We must begin to think rather than remember. So those are the 3 greatest threats to humanity that I see today. Great question. I love those. The more personal, the better, really, for me. I'm going to try my best to share as much as I possibly can. So keep those questions coming. Third question comes from the Facebook tribe, Patty Howard Bucetta. Patty, you've been an incredible inspiration on the Facebook Lives. Thank you so much for showing up week after week. You're amazing. And I feel like the wheels are turning. Dennis, when something traumatic is happening in real time and you deal with it, how do you get through the after effects it wreaks on your body? So she had a situation where her daughter went through a seizure. Absolutely horrible experience. We can all, pitch into that. And she's fine, which is great. But at the hospital, she was shaky and cold. And afterwards, at home, there was a lot of symptoms. She was reliving everything in her head. So this is what I call the anxiety hangover. Okay, I call this the anxiety hangover, where you have a traumatic experience and then I'm talking about the next day more than anything, the next morning or the afternoon, the evening, how to handle the hangover. I'm going to make a video on this specifically, but let's just go into a couple of things here. Right after an emotional event, the adrenaline in your body is running wild, which can either be used for good, and we can take action that can support a good path, or the adrenaline can be used to catastrophize, to circle around potential future problems and question the fearful responses that our bodies are going through. So we can use adrenaline for good or bad. The entire system is out of balance during highly emotional experiences and many times during the anxiety hangover as well. It's our job to bring balance back to the system in 4 ways, and you'll hear me always talking about these 4 ways in terms of creating a plan and being conscious of these 4 elements. Element number 1, mentally, to reshape the perceptions over the event, meaning to remind yourself of the good you did during the event and take lessons from the event. Any lesson, take a lesson, because when you begin to take more lessons, the subconscious mind begins to label the experience as not being something it needs to hold on to. It's no longer a trauma. It's safe now. And when you can exude safety over the subconscious mind and show it that those experiences were things that happen once and are not continuing within your mind-body system, your energy field will begin to feel lighter. Second element, physical, to focus on your breathing and your speed so that safety signals are again sent to your nervous system. We must show the system that the trauma is over. Third element, emotionally, to engage in activities that are not stimulating for that day of the hangover and are fun so the emotions can balance out. Fourthly, energetically, on the anxiety hangover, meditate for at least 30 minutes, leaving the past behind and solely focusing on the thing that we rarely focus on, which is our breath, and the thing that you're most grateful for. Keeping it simple. It really is nurturing time during the anxiety hangover, my friends. Every part of you will want to relive the experience over and over and over again in hoping mode that it won't happen again. And the truth is that hoping and trying are recipes for failure. So we must be proactive and give the 4 elements attention during an anxiety hangover. Okay? We must do this. Warriors, I want to thank you so much for being a part of this podcast episode. The hashtag Ask the Anxiety Guy show will add a whole new element to this podcast, and I thank you for joining me every single week. If you enjoyed this podcast episode and this podcast in general, please leave a positive rate and review for the podcast. Now, here's the quote that I want you to take for the day. Are you ready? Healing hurts. So don't be surprised when it shows up during the transition to a better you. Remember that. And for all you YouTubers out there that are listening to this on YouTube, here's the question of the week. Are you ready? What's one thing your system is asking for that you're not giving it more of? Is it rest? Is it counter statements to negative thinking? Is it nutrition deficiencies and cleaning up the diet? Answer in the comments section on YouTube. I love you all so much. You are more than anxiety. I'll see you soon. Warriors, remember, you are more than anxiety. You keep asking the questions, and I'll keep answering them.